Throughout Rey Mysterio's career, he's accomplished a lot. His size and stature was always going to be a disadvantage, but he fought through and cemented his legacy as one of the all-time greats. Rey's accolades compared to other all-time greats aren't on the same level, but what he did for high flyers has a far bigger impact than a bunch. But there's been one common theme throughout his career. He's been bullied far more than others, especially for somebody that won the world title 3 times. I've never seen a top talent get disrespected like this guy. Someone wants to turn heel, they drop him like a bad habit, and all he did was just stand there before he knows that he's sitting on a hospital bed. Why? Because someone wants to make a statement. Poor guy can't catch a break, and sometimes it even comes from his family. Okay, here we go. Rey Mysterio was amongst the most wanted names from Paul Heyman's ECW. Eric Bischoff was building a cruiserweight division and felt that Rey would be a great addition to WCW Monday Nitro. He signs, has a good first month, and even wins the cruiserweight title, but because the Outsiders and Hulk Hogan were running rampant, Rey Mysterio Jr. turned out to be a victim of one of their attacks, and it wasn't no regular attack. Sting takes a normal beating, Lex Luger gets knocked down, but Rey gets thrown into the wall like a lawn dart. One of the first times he got bullied, and obviously he was going to do nothing about it. Why? Because he's Rey Mysterio Jr. and then the NWO. He continues with his career, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but then Eddie Guerrero wanted the one thing that mattered most, the mask. For Rey, it was his pride, his image. It conceals him from the world, and Guerrero wanted to expose him. He failed, but Kevin Nash certainly didn't, and he just wanted the mask for no reason. You know, just to take it away. Oh, I want the mask. Boom. And Rey was embarrassed and demoralized in front of the world. Unlike a bunch of these incidents in this video, he actually turned this into a positive and went on a giant killer run that concluded with a WCW Cruiserweight Championship. There wasn't much embarrassment for Rey in WCW compared to WWE. He obviously got his ass kicked and all that, but WWE was a whole different beast in that area. He was bullied in numerous ways, which makes his run in WCW look like a walk in the park. Rey finally made his WWE debut in July 2002. Mysterio's high-flying abilities easily made him a fan favorite and attracted challengers. One of those challengers was Kurt Angle. Angle was in disbelief over how somebody as little as Rey could beat him. He treated him like a little kid, said that he's a boy in a man's world and then he's gonna dominate him. Okay, that sounds weird. He's a man that likes to play with boys. Oh, that's even weirder. And it was making him look bad, but basically saying, oh, Rey's little, this and that. These are the first days for Rey in WWE, and it was only going to get worse. Hell, I almost didn't add the Kurt Angle arc because it pales in comparison to the next ones. You know, I actually didn't have that in the video in the beginning. So Rey continues doing what he does, 619 to West Coast Pops when he gets himself a match with the Beast Brock Lesnar. It's a nice opportunity to show off his skills, but who had a problem with this? The Big Show. You see, the Big Show turned out to be one of the people that wanted Rey to fail the most, and here he did him no favors, ruining the match and throwing him into the crowd like a little baby. He tossed him effortlessly and went after the Big Show like he didn't embarrass a man earlier. Once again, I gotta say this, it sounds repetitive, this pales in comparison to some of the stuff we talk about. The next one though is certainly a huge example of how disrespected Rey was in his WWE run, and it was by the Big Show. They had this feud, a match at Backlash, and Rey fought hard, but he lost. Match is over, but Big Show gave him a beating so bad that he had to be carted on a stretcher, and when I say had to, it was necessary, but Big Show's like, we could cart him out of here after this, and swung his ass like a baseball bat into the post. He landed face first and could have suffered actual injuries from this accident. Not many at the time in WWE were so disrespected to the point where they were swung on a stretcher. Well, actually, nobody. Bro grabbed him like a baby and threw him like he was a nobody. And this was only the beginning for Rey Mysterio, because the rest of his WWE run was filled with misery and disrespect, and the entire time it's uncalled for. Around early 2005, Rey, being the good guy looking out for his buddy Eddie Guerrero, decided to choose him as a tag team partner. They formed a tag team and won the titles, but as a competitor, Eddie Guerrero felt that he had to prove himself against Mr. 619. He lost at WrestleMania and suddenly realized, hey, I hated this guy in WCW, why am I cool with him right now? And he destroyed him. This was the most brutal beating Rey suffered in WWE up to this point. It's one of the most brutal beatings he suffered in general as well. Guerrero beat him up like he stole his money and spent all of it, and poor guy was left with a ripped mask, a bloody face, and a broken heart, all because Eddie couldn't beat him. It got to the point where Latino Heat exposed the biggest secret. Dominic was his son. I mean, there's a reason why he has the mullet now. He's inspired by Father Eddie, right? The way Dom off the barricade here was too damn much as well. Guerrero burned his friendship, exposed his secret, all for a rematch, and when he finally won it, he started acting cool with Batista. It was the toughest time in Rey's career, and the poor guy didn't deserve any of it. Bro had to fight for that little gremlin in a ladder match and won it by the skin of his teeth. But after this, things were looking up for Rey Mysterio. He was being bullied by Big Show and Kane, but it wasn't a big deal. Soon enough, he won the Royal Rumble and won it in honor of Eddie Guerrero and was going to WrestleMania. But he had to deal with Randy Orton first, who was shouting at him that Eddie's in hell. He brought out his lowrider as well, and to top it all off, lied cheated, and stole his way to the WrestleMania title shot, leaving Rey with nothing. But Teddy Long bailed him out, and it led to the crowning moment of his career. But this was as good as it was going to get for a while. Why? Because his title reign was sad. JBL was out here being racist to him, talking about how he's a Mexican, this and that, and week after week would bring out a big guy to destroy him to weaken the champion ahead of Judgment Day. To top it all off, he forced him to say May 18th +1 and brought out Kane on the very same day as well. It all didn't work in JBL's favor, but for certain storyline, it's one of Rey's worst months. He goes on to have an odd title reign, which concludes with Chavo damn near ripping his head off with one of the most brutal chair shots ever. Bro was about to cease to exist in that moment, and you'd think he had a personal problem with him. Oh, he did. You see, Chavo felt that Rey was leeching off the Guerrero name and was using it for sympathy and fame. Vicky was stuck in the middle, but from out of nowhere, she blasted him with a chair, and now Mysterio was left all betrayed. Seeing Rey betrayed is like Big Show turning heel. We all know it happens sooner or later. And this time, they were even trying to get Dominic involved. Rey couldn't get them to stay away even after beating Chavo at No Mercy and had to face him in an I Quit match. For Rey, this was hell. He had to endure several chair shots to the knee, which resulted in him shouting I Quit and being sidelined for 10 months. And even during that 10 months, he got a beating by Umaga and Vince McMahon. Even when he's out injured, this guy can't rest. 2006 was the year he found the most success, but in many ways, it was also storyline-wise the worst of his career. Man was being called a fraud, being racially abused, and taken out by friends and people he would consider family. Upon Rey's return, things were looking up. He returned the favor to Chavo and got himself a title shot against the great Khali. That's when all the good stops, because Khali squeezed the life out of his head, and it's a sight I'll never forget. As usual, because this is normal for Rey, he moved on and got his ass kicked by somebody else. This time it was Finley. He fooled him with a stretcher tactic and gave him a beating which was beyond normal heel attack. It was very intelligent. When you see stuff like this, they had me convinced that Rey's hiding some chip or something in his brain. They just want to beat it out of him because this was too much. Nobody else took beatings like this. Either that or beating him up wins you some coins like an arcade game. I don't know. Then the Big Show returns right after Rey suffers an injury. He comes back as a face and decides, nah, I haven't turned in long, and goes after Rey. He's saved by Floyd Mayweather and goes away for a couple of months. Once he returns, he's in some deep problems as always. I mean, is Rey Mysterio if he never has problems? Kane was teasing bringing the mask back. He's all angry and decides, you know what, I'm not bringing the mask, and he brought out Rey's. At the time, Mysterio was missing, and this was connected to Kane. Why? Because he had to unmask and fans hated it. Some bizarre stuff. I don't even remember this feud. I haven't went back and watched it. All I remember is Kane's mask. He's teasing the return. But for Rey, he was assaulted just for being himself, and it wasn't as miserable as other feuds because by the end of it, all was good. He went back to dropping others with a 619 and won the Intercontinental Championship and got drafted to SmackDown. Chris Jericho was looking to expose the fans as frauds, and he finally crossed paths with one of their favorites. For Chris Jericho, he felt that there was more to the mask. He said that Rey hides himself from the world because he's fake. He's a fraud, a coward, and at one point, he even dressed as a fan and decked him. Bro was never ever comfortable greeting a fan. Hello, cool for wearing my mask. He was rewarded with an ass kicking. This is the Rey Mysterio lifestyle. Jericho even unmasked him to win the Intercontinental Championship. It was a terrible month for him, but he managed to rebound and fooled him to recapture the title at the Bash. Rey had a memorable run with the title, not because of the matches I'd say, but because of the image of him holding the title, but it ended after he violated the wellness policy. Upon his return, he started teaming up with Batista. They were cool, but when it came down to it, the world title of course, it was every man for himself. Batista didn't see it that way, and after losing his opportunity, he clotheslined the soul out of Rey Mysterio and started shouting at him, "You're supposed to be my friend," and as a good guy, Rey just wanted to calm him down. His reward? He threw him into the barricade. Following the rules ends your friendship. He tried to get him back, but Batista wasn't about that life anymore, and for Rey, it meant a lot of ass kicking. That said, he did get the last laugh over Batista, but this was nothing. This in itself was nothing compared to CM Punk. At the time, CM Punk had just formed the Strategy Society. His ego grew large, and he felt that since Rey Mysterio had too much fun recently, he had to rain on his parade. At this point, Rey still didn't get the memo. Don't bring your family to an arena, because he did it again, and CM Punk decided to sing happy birthday to his daughter Aaliyah. From there, it was constant stalking and attacking of Mysterio, who in the grand scheme of things couldn't find an answer to CM Punk. Sure, he beat him at WrestleMania, but Punk started bringing out a masked man, and that got to the point where Rey sacrificed his freedom to get a chance at embarrassing Punk at Over the Limit. It worked, and the society focused on other things, but once again, Rey does not get a chance to rest. A week later, the Undertaker's taken out, and Kane starts looking for suspects. His main suspects initially were Jack Swagger and the Strategy Society. Oddly enough, the one that gained the most from the attack was Rey Mysterio, and ironically, the Undertaker's last opponent was him. So Kane thought, damn, Rey's too happy, let me ruin it, and started blaming him. This little man, the biggest sin this guy committed was letting his son wrestle with that mullet. That's all. Like, why would he attack The Undertaker? He didn't. It was revealed that Rey Mysterio did not attack him. Kane just wanted to bully him for a month before his brother returned. as he was the one who was responsible. As for Rey, he had to deal with Alberto Del Rio right afterwards. He didn't even rest from this misery for a week. The Del Rio feud might seem too normal to be featured in this video, but it's very deceiving because he came in with a message, a statement, and how did he do it? He took out Rey Mysterio with a cross arm breaker. Now he was out for about a month and a half. Once he returned, it was a normal feud, but it was very heated, and all of that came from the cross arm breaker that left Mysterio sidelined. Rey didn't have much hardship in WWE from here on. Well, actually, Cody Rhodes, because he accidentally broke his nose. So Cody retaliated by embarrassing him, unmasking him, and leaving him laying on the stage. But other than that, not much. I assume Rey left WWE because he realized that he was going to get his ass kicked eventually. He's like, damn, it's been a while. So he decided to leave, probably. Fast forward to 2018, Rey Mysterio makes a very welcoming return. He looked even better than he did in the early 10s, and most importantly, he looked happy. But that's the problem. The moment Rey breathes and feels good, somebody ruins it, and this time it was Randy Orton. He gave him a big-ass beating and unmasked him, and once again, this was because of the fans. Orton felt that they put him on a pedestal like a baby, so that's why he attacked. He does this once again, and this led to a chairs match at TLC, which Mysterio won. He moved on and focused on the United States Championship, and at the time, Dominic was finally introduced. His inclusion in the show was slowly getting more and more notable, and Brock Lesnar's like, why not throw him with the Sharks and give him a vicious beating like he saw the future? So not only did Rey get his ass kicked, but his son got some as well. And I'd say this is the beginning of super sad Rey Mysterio. He was beaten up so badly by Brock Lesnar on that night that he called for Cain Velasquez. What's funny about this image is that, one, I thought Dominic cut his hair, and two, Rey looks like a little kid calling for his big brother to fight someone. Lesnar ended up destroying him before going after Rey. He even quit SmackDown to sign a contract with Raw. And their Survivor Series match was pretty fun. I actually believed Rey had a chance to win back the title, but he didn't. And Dom got his ass kicked too. This is where Rey's problems kicked up a notch. He got thrown off the building at Money in the Bank. Poor guy was tossed out like that, not to mention earlier, Shayna Baszler choked him out. Like, the guy just wanted to win the briefcase, but by the looks of it, earned broken bones. He literally just threw him off the building, all for a briefcase. He, of course, was revealed to have landed on another roof. At the time, it was very hilarious to see Baron Corbin just throw poor, miserable Rey Mysterio, who never had a good month, off the building. At the same time, Seth Rollins was losing a lot. His form had dropped, and to top it all off, his girlfriend was expecting a child. He was in a whole different world, and the way he lashed out was by far the worst thing for Rey Mysterio. He went after his eye. It got to the point where Rollins provoked him with a retirement ceremony. Once Rey did finally return, it was for the worst. He was seeking retribution. Dominic was as well, and that led to a long-ass story. But the reason why it was for the worst was because he faced Seth Rollins in an eye match. He lost. He was left with an eye in his hand, I believe, which is bizarre. It's a weird story, but it would continue to be just that. Dom made his debut at SummerSlam fighting in honor of his father. He had endured some brutal kendo stick shots earlier in the week and was also at a disadvantage because of his lack of experience. He lost, took an ass kicking, but came out of it looking good in terms of potential. But in terms of beatings, he really suffered here. That was it though. You know, Rey's misery was slowly coming to an end. Things were looking down for Seth Rollins instead. Murphy had problems with him and slowly became an ally of the Mysterios and ended up with Aaliyah. That was an odd ending to the story. It's bizarre. It's weird. I don't even know what to say about it. But I'm sure Rey was satisfied with how things ended because he was not getting an ass kicking. After this, he of course as usual got bullied. At one point the Bloodline went after him, but it was a short-term thing, which leads me to his current storyline, the Judgment Day. For some reason, the group had been looking to bring in Dominic. They initially whooped his ass, gave him a beating, gave his father a beating as well. Well, that's expected. Rey Mysterio getting a beating is like somebody talking. It's gonna happen eventually. And they beat him up on the night of his celebration as well. His family once again got to watch on, and for some reason, Dom feels he has to take matters into his own hands and fight back. Nope, turn on his father. And the Judgment Day's reaction was too damn funny. And now Dom was a heel. He looked and still looks out of place with them, but he's deceivingly the final piece of the group. He starts provoking Dad with Mommy. I'm of course referring to Rhea Ripley. And at one point, even assaulted him. It got to the point where Rey wanted to quit. And I'm like, bro, just grab the belt, the chancla, and get to work. He obviously deserves it. Like, why would you want to quit because of this guy? It was too much for Rey, and now he's on SmackDown. Even then, his son, who doesn't live with him, decided to pay a visit to the only place which didn't have any misery for him, the house. Thanksgiving Day, he gets a beating, and it's from his own son, and the story never ends. He tried going back for Christmas, but it didn't work, and now Rey's busy with Karrion Kross, who's certainly going to make him look bad. You're like, why don't you wait till this feud ends? If we wait until this feud ends, somebody else is going to attack Rey, and that's going to keep going on and on and on and on. So I decided to stop it here. He's of course going to get an ass kicking for sure. But yeah, that's Rey Mysterio's career. He's got a lot of ass kickings during this whole run. He's still going to get ass kickings for certain. And when you look at his storyline, this guy is the most disrespected legend out there for certain. Everyone that wants to make a statement, they clothesline. Everyone that wants to turn heel Make a moment, they attack him, they throw him in the air, whatever. They kick his ass. Even his son, who wants to make a statement, decided to turn on his father and beat him up every couple of weeks. It's been a rough career for Rey, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. Unless he, of course, retires, because if he doesn't, we all know the ass kickings are going to happen. So, yeah. Alright, what do you guys think of Rey Mysterio's career? Please comment down below, and that's the first video. Make sure you hit the seated senton on the like button, perhaps the 619 on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.